Hey, I just watched Black Adam. It stars Dwayne Johnson as the titular Black Adam, and it features as well Pierce Brosnan, Aldis Hodge, and Sarah Shahi. This movie was directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, which I believe I got that right. I hope so. I tried really hard to remember it. It is about the DC character Black Adam, an anti-hero in the DC universe. And he is a being who has the wizard powers of Shazam. And he has been in prison for the last 5,000 years and has now been unleashed into modern society. And he is going to show the world who he is. And boy, does he. Make no mistake, I'm sure most people are aware, Warner Brothers / DC has had a lot of issues over the years with their movies. A lot of lows, a few highs, mostly lows, and as of late, it's been even more lows. I would like to think this movie is maybe a middle ground on that. It's not really great, but it's not nearly as bad as some of the other DCEU movies we've had. First and foremost, Dwayne Johnson worked really hard to get this movie made. 10 years or more he has invested in trying to get this made, and he obviously wanted to star in the role, and we'll talk about that part, but he spent a lot of time trying to get this made, and I really respect that. That's a long time to really be pushing something. He clearly really cared about it, and I think that deserves respect. There's also a post-credits scene that I know pretty much everyone has already probably heard about, but I won't spoil it. But he also pushed very hard to make that happen and did a lot of talking and lots of pushing and pulling to make that happen. Apparently, the new leadership are the ones who okayed it at Warner Brothers. So, again, no matter what I say about this movie that might be bad, or what anyone else is saying, I think we should all just appreciate that aspect of this. Having said all of that stuff, let's get into the movie a bit. The cinematography definitely kind of lines up with most of the other DCEU movies. I feel like they borrowed a little bit of how the Shazam movies look, a little bit of how Snyder movies look with stylization and stuff too. Lots of slow-mo things, especially with the lightning. I felt like they really wanted to show that off, and it did remind me of a Zack Snyder movie. I think it just kind of fits right in with the other DCEU movies. It's clearly in continuity with the other ones. There are cameos from other DC characters that have been in previous movies. I won't spoil any of that, but they're all there. The ones you would expect that you've seen multiple times, including in like the Peacemaker show. It's just a hint. They're there. They clearly wanted this to be still canon in the DCEU. I don't know what their plans are going forward, but if you're a DC fan, I think you're going to enjoy this movie despite any issues that it has. I think casual audiences, you're not going to hate it. It's not the worst of the DCEU movies by any means. It is a fine popcorn movie. It's just got some flaws. Those flaws really tend to include it's just a bit padded. The movie's 2 hours and 4 minutes, and it didn't need to be. I think realistically, you may have been able to cut this movie down to an hour and 45 minutes, perhaps maybe slightly longer than that. There's also just some issues with there's a narration sequence at the beginning of the movie that, while necessary to probably tell some of the story, it goes on way too long, I think. I almost found myself trying to zone out, and that's not good when your movie's just starting. So a few flaws here or there. Jaume, the director, he's actually directed quite a few movies over the years. One of them actually was last year, was Jungle Cruise, also with Dwayne Johnson. So they've actually worked together before. And he's worked with Liam Neeson several times. And one of his previous films, when I was looking through his filmography, is also The Shallows, which is one of my favorite shark movies. So some strong directorial work there. There's some really cool fight sequences in the movie that are inventive. They're kind of claustrophobic sometimes, and they really play around with that. I really appreciated that. There's a lot of great choreography, fight work in this movie, or at least for one sequence. Villain's very forgettable, but that's kind of par for the course for a lot of these movies, so I don't think it's worth knocking it too hard, but it is worth pointing out. There is some humor in the movie. It's not too much. It's not constant and all the time like some of the Marvel movies have gotten into be more like in the last couple movies. But it is there. It's kind of sprinkled in more like they've done with the other DCEU movies. I don't think that it was as funny as Shazam. I think that, for me personally, is probably my favorite DCEU movie. This is a fine companion piece to that. They definitely fit in line with each other. It was cool to have all the Shazam references. They are all there. The Justice Society of America is also really great. I really enjoyed all those characters. Hawkman, played by Aldis Hodge, is fantastic. Pierce Brosnan is really great. I mean, I don't know how he can't be. It's Pierce Brosnan, but he's really great as Dr. Fate. This movie is wholly an origin story. And while in some ways that holds the movie back because there's not a change of scenery or anything really, They kind of just stay in one place, and it does also kind of add some dullness to the movie because you just don't get a lot of scenery change. That is I consider a positive and a negative. Consider it a positive because going forward, we've already had a nice, solid origin story movie, and we can just move on with our sequels, and we don't have to worry about any more of that. It's just we're set up, we're good to go, we know about the character, and we're going to move forward. Another huge pro I think you can't not mention about this movie is they definitely show that Black Adam is an anti-hero. He is not nice to people that he doesn't like. He has zero qualms about killing people, and a lot of the times they're pretty hardcore kills. I know that I heard news that this movie originally got an R-rated rating when it first went for approval, and then they were able to cut the little bit they needed to get PG-13. Other than that, I would say that Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam is okay. It is Dwayne Johnson, and I do really like him. I consider him to be one of the hardest working people in the industry. He definitely busts his ass, and I respect that. But acting-wise, he's only got so much range, I think, and it does still feel the same here. You're looking at Dwayne Johnson. I don't feel like I'm seeing Black Adam. I'm just seeing The Rock. But if you like him being that character that he always plays, you're getting that here for the most part, and it doesn't bother me personally. I do like it. I find him to be very charismatic, so it's fine. But having said all of that, I appreciate you watching this video. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Maybe leave me a like. Again, leave me a comment if you've watched the movie, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.